are live. Okay, so let's go ahead and just jump right into ranked. As you can see, we have been having a terrible time with it. Our deck is incredibly free-to-play friendly, which has made it pretty difficult to get the wins we need to start ranking up. Our deck is consisting entirely of cards obtained from one copy of each structure deck and cards given away for free. We have pulled no packs and opened no bundles. Welcome, Dragzen. Hope you're having a good day. Oh, how are you doing, Fate Zero? Nice to see you around. So, quick overview of the deck. We have one copy of the Magician Structure deck, one copy of the Acebreaker one, and we are going to be using Ultimate Bond as our skill. And we do get the full Beast Engine access, thanks to the Magician Structure deck. We are going to be setting up Dark Magician and a Magic Juggler here. They only have one monster, and it's even a low level. So hopefully this means we are going to be able to break through this, and I will probably go for the more aggressive play. Our deck is very bad, so we need to push in when we can. Unfortunately, there is a good chance of this being a Grace Princess, so we don't actually get in for any damage here. And we do see they have a trap, so it's Recital. So attack order ultimately did not end up mattering on this turn. With them having two cards left in hand though, we almost certainly are going to be facing down some boss monsters. And with Disco Fever, we actually aren't going to be able to use Barrier to save us. Barrel Dragon, incredibly threatening. And with Seahorse Carrier, they're absolutely going to be able to bring in another level 7 or higher monster. Even if they don't hit on the Barrel Dragon, we are in incredible danger. But, I mean, if they whiff, we do actually get to keep our life points relatively safe. I was not expecting Dragias. I thought for sure it was going to be a boosted monster. Obviously, we cannot afford to use our trap card there, and they are going for a trade. But of course, I'd rather save the 2,600 life points, so we are going to be shuffling back the Magic Juggler. Pocket Pikachu needs another beast in the graveyard to activate the effect, so we are going to be going for it. Or Ventor. I actually have not heard about the update. So, what is going on? Okay, we actually dropped into a Dark Magician Girl, which is fantastic. However, it's not good enough to beat Barrel Dragon. So, we are, once again, simply hoping for a whiff on the Barrel Dragon's effect, which is not a winning strategy at all. But I mean, if they do whiff, our Dark Magician Girl should be relatively safe with two different trap cards. And it actually somehow manages to get through one more time. We see two low-level monsters. I am expecting a boss, but maybe they didn't draw any. Okay, nice. Show me Disco here? No. Okay, it is unfortunately Dianketo. And if they are on the skill, of course, we are not going to be using our trap card here. There's no reason. Though, actually, maybe I should have gone ahead and used my barrier to shuffle the aiming goal back into the deck, as I would enable a 3,500 attack point monster here. Obviously, we need to aim to beat the Barrel Dragon. So, we're gonna start with the two beast monsters. That way we can debuff. Next, Tough Striker comes in. And, I think we are going to set the Mystic Dealer. We enter the battle phase, and unfortunately we have to swing into the Barrel Dragon. Since it just presents so much board presence by simply sticking around. Unfortunately, they are almost guaranteed to have two different trap cards here. So, we'll probably just scoop and head to the next game. Widespread Ruin and Barrier do end us here. And I guess with two 2500s, they technically were only going to be able to clear one. If they use the Barrel Dragon, so maybe I should have not attacked at all. That way, even if it hits, I have one to protect me. But I think the bigger misplay was not shuffling back in the Aim Eagle. Ultimately, it wouldn't have made a difference since they had the Widespread Ruin. But at this point, I'm just gonna give them this victory. So let's go ahead and head into the next one. Oh, okay, so KC Cup. I guess that's not really something I'm super interested in. I will be doing the duels for the gems, I guess. But other than that, oh, and apparently we are getting all of these bond chain things for the rewards. Let's go ahead and queue into game number 2. Welcome, Scream. How are you doing today? Bum, 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 bum. Next opponent is a Yuga. They could be on any number of decks. Welcome, Shoto Todoroki. Right, happy birthday again, Scream. Hope you had a good day. Alright, we are up first, and we do have a ton of back row here. Unfortunately, none of it's actually super helpful. And we are losing our Light Sorcerer very early on. One of our best debuffing options in the deck. Right, starting off with a Witch, but do they have the Magician? Doesn't look like it. However, we are still going to be taking a full 2400 here, which is a little bit rough, for sure. We draw for turn, and I mean, we could get the Aim Eagle play, which seems solid. So, or do we want to save it for the Tough Striker? Because we can already summon a pretty decent board with just these two guys. So maybe I don't even use the skill. Let's just bring out our monsters and play normally. Acebreaker plus Torna. Then we do have to swing into the Magician's Valkyria before anything else. So we go here. And I mean, if they have the widespread exactly, it is pretty troublesome. And it looks like they did have a trap. So with a barrier, I'm not really feeling swinging into the Magic Juggler. I'd rather keep my life points a little bit safer going into the next turn. Tired of the event on Duel Links. Yeah, so I did unlock, Mizar, but I haven't really, been playing the event the last few days. I got all the rewards I wanted, and I've been, busy enough where clicking auto assist duel a billion times, didn't really seem worth it. Light Sorcerer, unfortunately, is going to be a big debuff with the Magic Regular on field. It's worth 600 points. Even my barriers, etc., are not going to be enough. So I will have to let that attack go through. However, Icebreaker surviving is amazing, as it means it's going to be able to use its effect and destroy one of the monsters for free. Wow, okay. I wonder if they actually spent money to get a prismatic copy, or if they just got extremely lucky. So I could have Silver Wolf for a bonus, but I think I just want to put out the strongest monsters that I can. And that's going to be these. Then, of course, Icebreaker is coming in. We're going to keep the Aim Eagle, just in case we do somehow manage to find ourselves with Tough Striker in hand. Next up, play around Recital by swinging with this one first. Unfortunately, they do have the Widespread Ruin, which I think was the one they had last turn, actually, which is interesting. Swinging here, since if they have a Curtain of Sparks, exactly, we get to keep our stronger monster on board. Though, with a board like this, I don't think it's going to help us win the game. If they did a Rush Duel character next, who do I want unlocked? I am relatively sure that they already confirmed Nail is the next character. So, with his Drago, we're going to be getting some maximum summons. So I just unfortunately have literally nothing to deal with the 7-sword Magician. Let's Barrier. Return Icebreaker into the deck. And then they figured it out for the next attack. If they did actually somehow mess it up both times, we would have been able to survive. But unfortunately, it was not the case. I'll send them over a nice, and we'll go ahead and try our luck in the next game. We have a couple of hours before I have to go, and we will see if we are able to get even just one rank up. Alright, we unlock the special card, but with it requiring, I think, 25 cards in the graveyard, I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to do it. Stream only started about 15 minutes ago, so we are 0 and 2. Plenty of time to luck our way into a 3-win streak. So let's go ahead and see what they start with. We don't have any high-level monsters here, so we could be in trouble. Currently, no way to out this Burning Blaze Dragon. If we draw a high level though, we can bring out a couple of 1300s into the defense mode monsters and see how it goes. Looking like a bad start. With a deck like this, our comeback potential is really low. So, just hitting them with a quick concede seems like the right play. Okay, so they win the coin flip. And they are actually on a 40-card deck. We open a couple of boss monsters. And, you have a good day too, Todoroki. Alright, and they apparently had a disconnect. So, this is the kind of luck that we need to be ranking up. Let's see if we're able to carry the momentum to the next rank. one down. So just 2 more to go. Alright, looks like another Yuga. They are very popular on the ladder these days. After the last 2 structure decks being Yuga themed, actually, I think all 4 structure decks are Yuga themed. Alright, so this is actually a pretty interesting opener with Acebreaker and Barrier. There's a chance that they struggle to clear this. Unfortunately, a lot of Yuga-themed boss monsters are able to do this. 3,500 from Ultimate Bond, over 3,000 from a 7-zone Magician. But if it's a Dark Magician deck, they could struggle. Magical Stream, unfortunately, is going to be immediately taking out our Barrier, which is probably a card we needed in order to keep us safe. We see a second Mystic Dealer. So it's possible they didn't draw anything. Okay, so here is our chance to build a lead. We could use Acebreaker's effect, but I don't think we want to. We can establish a much stronger board by simply summoning our monsters. Bring in the Dark Sword Magician and the Dark Magician Girl, and we'll have 3 boss monsters rather than just 1. The Mystic Dealers are so low attack points that this is very clearly a superior play. We want to play around with Seidel by swinging in with our best monsters first. If they have the Widespread Ruin, it's unfortunate, but it's just how it is. Then we play around with Seidel on the 1 monster remaining by swinging in with the lower monster. And Dark Sword Magician swings in for 2,500. My opponent is down to just 1,000 life on turn 3. This could be our chance to start a win streak. So let's see what Soma does. Shield and Sword. My monsters have solid defense. I think, even with the spell card, they're gonna have trouble clearing all 3 of these. 7-zone Magician coming in. And Valkyria. Interesting. Okay, so unfortunately, if they clear both of my 2,500s, Crown of Sparks is actually enough to protect Valkyria from my Dark Magician Girl. And Shield and Sword actually doesn't help me there, which is rough. Not gonna lie. This may have just been the play they needed to secure themselves back in the game. I think the best I can do is actually bring in the Magic Juggler and try to win with a Barrier. Losing this one is really unfortunate after such a strong start. And Magical Stream coming in immediately to destroy my Shield and Sword, which may have been useful on a later turn. That said, keeping Crown of Sparks around might be helpful. Welcome, Sarah. I like the new profile picture. Though I can't actually quite tell what it is. Right, here comes Splat, which is unfortunately able to boost itself all the way up to 2,400. And then it can even boost the Valkyria to 18. Okay, so Crown of Sparks here, for sure. as it does let us take out a monster. We lose a few life points, but we are technically still in it. But what can we draw to actually turn this around? I don't know. Silver Fang, Silver Wolf. Unfortunately, if they drew Widespread Ruin, I don't think there's anything we can do about it. All we can really do is hope this is good enough to close out the game. Which it almost definitely is not. Here's Widespread Ruin, and that is gonna be it. Seven's Magician is able to swing in directly and set us back to 0. Welcome, Stan. We are in Gold 3. Right where we left off from the previous stream. So either one of these attacking directly is game, and my monsters obviously do not have more than 2400 defense to block these out. So even with a very strong start, it's easy to see how one whiffed turn can turn this entire game around. I think the hardest part is that we don't have access to Widespread Ruin, so it's almost impossible for us to luck into the wins, whereas every other opponent that we're facing is gonna have, by the time we get to the end of the game, like a 50-50 chance to have just blown us out, regardless of how much work we've put in previously. So, if we want to try to win, we need to close the games fast before they can even draw it. So here, for example, I think we need to thin down the hand. And then basically our point is to be as aggressive as possible. We need to put in the Ace Breaker and hope that they don't have an out to it. And then on the next turn, we can establish a second boss monster and try to win from there. Of course, the odds of them bricking are pretty low. And with Magician Shuffle, we already know they have a 1 tribute 2500 monster ready to summon. I will say, if you're playing a normal deck, summoning the Tough Striker turn 1 makes more sense, because I don't have any protection for the Ace Breaker. And it's better to keep the Ace Breaker in hand. However, on this deck, things are different, as we need to just high roll in order to have any chance of winning. Aim Eagle, White Tiger, and then we just bring in the Tough Striker. And we try to get in for some damage. Obviously, if they have the Widespread Ruin here, we are once again in a pretty terrible spot. But otherwise, their deck does actually struggle with putting out monsters strong enough to out 2500s. They can summon a ton of 2500s of their own, but might not be able to get over it unless they draw a Light Sorcerer. We see a few monsters coming in, but none of them are strong enough. But here is Seven's Own Magician, and unfortunately, with the Dory Auto, that is the third attribute that they need. And it is now 3000. My barrier is not going to be able to save Tough Striker, which is rough. Kanan comes down. And they actually end knowing that I have a barrier for their other monsters, which is interesting. I think we definitely need to Silver Wolf here. And, we are just gonna be... Well, actually, this could have been 2, plus 6, okay. I don't think we could have weakened that one enough. My plan is to try to get rid of the weaker monsters, but I could have also kept the Magic Juggler for later. That way I could get a bigger debuff with the Light Sorcerer on a future turn. That said, we are going in, Phantom Bind. Not what I was expecting. Let's deal the 200 and pass. We do have Pakachu, and it is set up. So if we draw 2 boss monsters on the next turn, there is theoretically still a chance, as long as we don't die this turn. They only have 1,000 life, and being able to beat over the Dark Sorcerer with a 2,500 monster would actually be good enough. However, we are in for a ton of damage here. We go down to just 900, and barrier is not enough to defeat it. We are white. Welcome, Cyclone. I do play a little bit of speed, but not usually on stream. Like, I'm gonna play in the KC Cup to get the gems, but I don't really play it all that often. Welcome, Flutie. So, if you are a brand new free-to-play player, you can actually build a better version of the deck I'm using. And while obviously on stream I am struggling, if you are making just a few additions, you'll hit King of Games way easier. For example, I'm only running 1 copy of this Acebreaker structure. However, you get a copy for 500 gems, and there was, or is, a limited time promotion to get a second copy. So run this with the second copy of Tough Striker, Acebreaker, and Amigal, and you'll be in a great spot. Then, add in a Widespread Ruin from the bundles, and you really don't have to worry at all. The deck is more than good enough for just 500 gems to hit King of Games. Or 500 plus the bundle. Okay, so they set some Gravity Press Dragons. So let's bring in our monsters and beat over them. There is actually a slight chance that they are Clear Ice Dragons. However, it is pretty likely they are both Gravity Press. So we get in for 2,000. We kept the Pakachu in hand, but it is not actually set up, so it might have not been the right play. Triadrago is coming down, but this is a level 6 monster, so they are not able to draw another card. Yeah, so Aggro and Noodles are also both solid decks. Aggro is a little bit more powerful for sure. What about adding Widespread Ruin? So, I would, but the point of the challenge is that I don't open any packs. So, basically, my plan is if I'm not able to get to a high enough rank by the end of the month, I will start breaking the challenge a little bit to be something like only guaranteed cards where I can use the bundle. But for now, I want to do it as, with as minimal resources as humanly possible. So other options I'm considering are either the second copy of the structure deck or the bundle cards. I think we definitely go into the Dragorite and then swing in for 1300. If they don't draw specifically a Slayer on the next turn, Darksword Magician should be pretty safe. Of course, it is a Resonance deck, so expecting a Slayer is par for the course. And here it is. My board is gonna be getting white. Good enough Sparks does nothing for me. And now they have their own face down card. Whether it's Widespread Ruin or Dragonic Pressure, we are in trouble. I think unfortunately we have to play around the barrier, which means praying they don't draw a second Dragonic Slayer as we swing into this Winged Dragon. And of course, if it's widespread, it's widespread. But playing around the barrier is even more important because they can run 2 to 3 copies and it's fairly common. If they draw a second Slayer and destroy both of our own barriers, we lose. But we know they had a trap card, which means swinging into the Slayer wouldn't have worked anyway. Alright, they are using Resonance early though, which implies to me that they don't have another boss monster to summon out. And it's just time to wait and see what they do next. As if this is their end board, we could win. Unfortunately, they had the other Slayer the whole time. And you may be wondering, why didn't they wait to activate the skill? That is a great question. I don't know. And now, with 2 Slayers on board, there is nothing we can do. I think we do give it our best effort here as a show of our attempt. But, I don't see any way we can turn this around. They are thinking, and they had the widespread, so that is game. Let's go ahead and give them a concede so we can get into the next one. Send them over a nice and a weak Q on again. I don't think we've actually managed to win a single game. No, we did win 1, but that was because the opponent's connection went out immediately. So it has been a real tough climb today. We are only about half an hour in though, so those wins will eventually come. We are up first. Could definitely use another low-level monster. Tough Striker, fine. We will make do with what we have. And if they don't draw a boss monster, then the Tough Striker can provide some value later on. Throw out this Shield and Sword and end. Actually, now that I think about it, if we had just set a bunch of monsters face down, we might have been able to eventually win the last game by drawing Shield and Sword and reducing the Slayers to 0 attack. So that is my bad. I agree with plus minus. I do think that the dual background looks fantastic. I'm a big fan. Gravity Press is coming in. Unfortunately, we don't have a barrier here, so we are not going to be making use of the effect. And it actually wouldn't have mattered. Ancient Demise Dragon is here to beat us up. Interestingly, our opponent has actually gone through Bunker Strike and Phoenix Dragon. 2 of their limit 3 cards are out of the way. Let's go ahead and activate Ultimate Bond right away. We want to have as big of a push as possible. So we're going to show Acebreaker. And then return Shield and Sword. The idea is that by putting it back into the deck, Slayer cannot pop it. Aim Eagle gives us a nice 3,500 monster. And we get a full board as well. Offering us some protection going into the next turn. Swing in here. And another 2,400 puts them below half health. Here is a chance to win, I think. If they have a weak turn, we could really establish a strong board. Oh, alright, and Dragon's Inferno is going to be taking out our barrier. Unfortunate. However, this is the kind of weak board we are looking for. We draw for turn. Dark Sword Magician. So there is an argument to activate Acebreaker here. But with 3 trap cards, it's not appealing because we would rather actually deal the damage. We need to get them down as low as possible. We know their cap is 2,800 in this deck, barring Ancient Arise Dragon. So if we have 3 traps, the Slayers are never going to be able to do enough to stop us. Let's destroy a couple monsters and pass. Unfortunately, I think their face down card might just be Dragonic Pressure, capable of clearing out my entire board in one swoop. No, it's another Inferno. So, 1 down. But we have 2 more traps ready to go. I think this very well could be our chance to win. And start the win streak that gets us up to gold 4. Shield and Sword, kind of ruining my plan though. Our trap card's definitely not going to do anything against a Slayer now. But how many Twin Edge have they gone through? Just 1. Okay. Unfortunately, the buff is just enough where even Curtain of Sparks wouldn't have been enough to really save us. No, I don't want to use this. Unless there's something really worth putting back in the deck. I mean, the Dark Sword Magician seems useful. Okay, fine. We'll do it. Put back Dark Sword Magician, so that way if we draw it, we have another special summon. But really, our win condition here is drawing Shield and Sword, which we do not do. So in that case, we are gonna set 3 and try again next turn. Unless, of course, they bring in a Twin Edge Dragon, in which case they win. But it does require drawing a level 7 plus a Twin Edge. So let's see how it goes. If we stall out for long enough, we will eventually draw or Dragius. So, I just want to point out, my opponent is using Bunker Strike, Phoenix Dragon, and Dragius. However, they are still running Sports Dragon Slugger with 0 copies of Pitcher in the deck. So I just want to point out the kind of deck we are losing to. Dragias plus Twin Edge are going to take us out. I will send them an ice, and even though this game looked so promising, we were not able to close it out. Just another unfortunate roll. Oh, thank you for the follow, Noro. Yeah, I do at Stanford, or Stan. I think the Disco Fever deck is pretty fun and also fairly powerful. I'm going to keep the Light Monster in hand rather than the debuffer. Since I think it should have some synergy if I draw into Aim Eagle, or rather the boss monsters next turn, but let me search for the Aim Eagle. No need to barrier here. But we do have a 1500 to try to start getting through this board. I mean, Shield and Sword could push for a pretty solid amount of damage. And it honestly might be worth it. Let's bring in a 1500, 1400. Set, bring down the Paku, and swing over these Kanans. Widespread Ruin is kind of an issue, but otherwise, I do enjoy the free 2900. So let's see how it goes next. Obviously, we didn't establish a particularly strong board, but if they also don't have any boss monsters, it's pretty decent. Dealer coming in to help fix their hand, expecting a low level. Discard. I was right. So they are indeed searching for more bosses. Back row going down. And they pay the 300 for a debuff, which is interesting. We definitely let this one go through. But we will be protecting the Juggler. Keeping the board presence as much as possible is important. Putting back the Pakachu gives us the best odds on turn 7 and beyond, where we might need actual boss monsters. Okay, so Light Sorcerer allows us to debuff the Doriado by 600. Then we contribute and bring in a White Tiger to set up that Pakachu that we shuffled into the deck. Enter the battle phase and start by playing around Recital by having our strongest monster swing in first. Unfortunately, they do have the Widespread Ruin, so now we have to play into a potential Curtain of Sparks as well, forcing a trade, and then we get in for some measly damage. Yeah, so I do have Mazar, and the event skill, but it's not like I've really done anything with it. Alright, here comes Magician's Shuffle. A board of 2500 is going to be very difficult for me to deal with. I've auto used Shield and Sword. So, we just have to wait and see. We know Dark Magic Girl is coming out. My barrier is not going to be good enough. And I don't think shuffling back Dark Sword Magician really does anything for me. Not in this situation. we draw and we find Tough Striker, which is quite interesting. Ultimate Bond, and I did mess up. I should have used the Pikachu before using Ultimate Bond. That way I could have gotten rid of it and had another monster ready to go. Let's return Silver Wolf this time at our low level. Aim Eagle. Oh, and we actually can't even use it. Right. 1, 2. And then... yeah, I messed up. Shuffling the barrier was a huge mistake. I have way too many extra monsters. I'm just trying to swing in 4 damage. Widespread is widespread. But they have already used it. So things are not quite as bad as they appear. We only need 1 more swing to win. Stan, if you have not gotten the skill yet, you really need to hurry up. I'm pretty sure it is the final hours of the event. Alright, so we see Dark Sorcerer coming in. I do have a Silver Wolf for getting over a Dark Magician Girl in the future. But with 3 back row, I'm not sure what my plan is. We see Dark Magician Girl opting for a trade. And I actually can't bring in this Dark Magician, or I risk, their Dark Magician Girls going up to 3,000. So I kind of have to just pass here. I could have set the Rhino, but I'm also concerned about decking out. There is a lot going on in this game. Seahorse Carrier, but surely they don't actually need all of those cards either. Seven Zone Magician does let them make a pretty strong push here. Okay. Oh, so the Seahorse Carrier was to draw 1 less card on the future turns to win the potential deck out war. We get a barrier, which will let me get a monster back into my deck. But which one actually helps me win the game here? It has to be Aim Eagle. Okay, so we Aim Eagle, and then we draw into Ace Breaker, and then we win. That's the plan. Let's go ahead and thin our hand out. We have a road to victory. So Dark Magician is in the deck. Because we have so few available boss monsters, I feel like we really need as many level 7s as we can get. So, we barrier here. We will be returning Aim Eagle. And this is our winning line. We need to keep Aim Eagle around until we find Ace Breaker. And there it is. However, we don't have a light monster to pair with the Aim Eagle right now. So, we need to set some monsters and bide our time. Set 2 and end. We unfortunately can't summon the Dark Magician. As we don't have, we would then not have 3 set monsters, and the 7 Zone Magician would end the game. I know we have at least a Pikachu in the deck. And there it is. Summon Pikachu. Summon the Aim Eagle that we shuffled back. Activate the effect. 1, 2. Special summon Ace Breaker. set barrier. Swing in for 1400 damage, enough to win even through a barrier or Curtain of Sparks. Phantom Bind. But I don't think I'm running that many machines. We clear 1000 damage, and we are finally able to take a real game home. Did I hear about the maximum summons? Yeah, so I'm excited to see how the Harpies end up shaking out. Because those are very good cards. The other ones, Yggdrago, are probably going to rely a lot on the skills that they give to Nail and Yuga. So I'll see how it goes at the end of the month. I think we're not getting the maximums until basically the final day of February. Okay, so this time we are against Luke, so we are going to bring out the Dark Magician immediately. And we have our barrier to protect us against threats like Dragius, but it's pretty unlikely to actually make a difference. Either Slayer will come in and destroy my card, or Ancient Ice Dragon will buff high enough that it doesn't matter, or Gravity Press Dragon will lower me down to the point where two boosted monsters, one can eat the barrier and the other one can take it out. Oh, but if they're on Ancient Forces instead, that's pretty interesting. Let's see what they go for. 2800 is technically strong enough. But do they have another boss? Looks like they're going for the Clear Ice with Phoenix Dragon. So that is 2 of the Limit 3 monsters gone already. However, they could use the Clear Ice Dragon to shuffle the Phoenix Dragon back into the deck if they're willing to give me my Pog Pog to chew. Actually, they don't have to. Yeah, they can shuffle just the one. But they do choose to clear the graveyard entirely. And with my graveyard clear, I can't use barrier. So my Dark Magician falls. That was a clean sequence from my opponent. Unfortunate. Let's see what we can do. It's not looking like much. Yeah, but we managed to win the last game, which makes me not want to give up just yet. So we could bring in Light Sorcerer, do a 600 debuff, and get over one of these. But is it even worth it though? We end up taking a ton more damage than we actually deal. So I think I am just going to go ahead and set the monsters. And we'll wait to make a better push on a future turn. Their deck should have very few ways to actually get through me setting 3 monsters. So hopefully this is good enough. These of them put back the Twin Edge. Probably going to clear my Dark Magician. That way, if I draw a Dark Magician Girl, I'm not able to use it. Seems reasonable. Our trap cards don't do much. And they are fully setting up the back row, which is another issue in itself. Cards like Widespread Ruin and Barriers are going to come in and cause huge problems. We draw enemy with bosses again. This time though, definitely want to set up our Pakachu. So if they shuffle the silver away, they do have a way to deny it. Setting 3 one more time. And we will see how this goes. Bum, 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 bum. Alright, another Burning Blaze Dragon to fully establish their board. What do they shuffle away? They do indeed get rid of both cards that are relevant in the graveyard. Ancient Forces boosted up, not that they actually need to. And they will clear our stuff. So, what can we even draw? We can't even use Dark Sword Magician. Well, we can't use the effect. Because they have not committed a high-level monster. I could summon it, but with Widespread Ruin being super likely, I don't think it's even worth it. We're gonna wait until we can draw another monster. And now, even with Clear Ice Dragon's effect, we do have 2 beast monsters that we are able to ensure that the Pakachu is live. So hopefully we draw another boss monster here. Acebreaker does technically work. Pakachu, effect, put 1 back, grab 1, tiger, and then I guess we will Dark Sword, and Ultimate Bond away the Rhino. To grab Amigal, which we actually can't even use the effect of, but we can at least bring out Acebreaker. And this means even if they have a Widespread Ruin, we're going to be able to keep one of our monsters on board. Which is, I think, the bigger issue. Swing in over Burning Blaze Dragon. And they do Widespread Ruin. Presumably they are going to be destroying the Acebreaker, though. Theoretically, clearing the Clear Ice might have been better, since it prevents them from shuffling away more of my cards. That said, I'm kind of fine with where we are. We have plenty of spellcasters in the graveyard, we have lots of beasts, but Rice Terra Secure is not what I was expecting. It is a clear out. But so is Ancient Ice Dragon, as Dark Sword Magician has just 1500 defense. Unfortunate. Though, we also could have expected them to see one by this point in the game. It is turn 10. have some trap cards, but they aren't going to do anything here. Sell them the nice and move on to the next one. We did our best, but even though we managed to win a game, we are not on the win streak. And that puts us just over an hour playing with, I think, 1 or maybe 2 wins. Pretty interesting hand. Do we keep the Dark Magician Girl? I think no, we probably need to high roll if we want to win this game. So we're gonna bring out the Dark Magician Girl. And even though we could be playing against Resonance, where keeping Shield and Sword in hand is a potential high rolling play. I'd rather high roll into them not drawing a Slayer. Try Drago coming down, but they aren't going to be able to draw the cards as Dark Magician Girl is only level 6. Let's see what they go for. And it is a Dragius, which is, fine. We are obviously taking a ton of damage here, but it's better than a lot of other positions we could be in. Okay, so we do have the Dark Sword Magician. Do we Shield and Sword here? Our options are to either use the Shield and Sword now, or to try to save it for later. With the thought process being that we can use Torn of the Windweaver and Dark Sword to clear the Dragius anyway. So let's do that. We definitely also have the Pocket Pikachu online, but I think it's better this way. Special summon Dark Sword Magician. Magic Juggler. Mystic Dealer. Torna the Windweaver. Effect switches Dragius to defense mode. And now we have 2 ways to clear Dragius, even if they have a trap card. Swing here. They do have something. It's Barrier. That's fine. As by using it on the Torna here, means my Torna isn't dying, swinging into the Dragonite. End turn. But Shield and Sword would have been able to guarantee we cleared over the barrier anyway. And now it's probably just gonna get popped by a Slayer, huh? So maybe it would have been worth it to use the card. Okay, So they weren't able to out the Dark Sword Magician, which is great news. Acebreaker, interesting. But they do have 2 back row here. Still. I think we just go in. Interestingly enough, Widespread Ruin's not a huge deal, since we have 2 guys. And then, go like this. The Shield and Sword doesn't really do anything, because this thing loses attack, but the Tri-Drago would gain it anyway. Swing here first. Right, and they pop a Widespread. Kind of as expected. Clear out the Tri-Drago, and we can go. Now, even if they drop a Slayer, it is a 50-50. If they hit the Shield and Sword, my Barrier can protect the Dark Sword Magician. And if they hit the Barrier, Shield and Sword will reduce Slayer to 0 on the next turn, and potentially they may win the game. So unless they manage to bring out 2 copies of Slayer this turn, I feel good. Obviously they could also have a Dragon's Inferno, but the game is a lot closer than it might seem. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, we have a barrier, and it's worth using if it's gonna guarantee we get some damage in. Our deck doesn't run a ton of boss monsters, so Acebreaker is the one I'm gonna put back. And it actually would allow a sneaky play, where Shield and Sword reduces Dragorite all the way down to 0, and we swing in for 3,500. Unfortunately, we don't draw that. But Shield and Sword is probably needed this turn, since their board is looking pretty strong. So, even though I really wish we had a boss monster, we'll be using it here. And this is potentially a big push. Definitely use the 2 Silver Wolves. Have to debuff this Gravity Fest Dragon as much as possible. Oh, there goes the Acebreaker again, but I'm okay with that. Swing into the Dragorite for maximum damage. Swing in here. And they are down to just 1,400. My opponent has 100 life points remaining. Anyone's game. Ghost Cyclone, taking out my Curtain of Sparks. I am okay with this. A Dragonic Pressure just means any boss monster or even another Silver Wolf is enough to end it. But I think the most iconic ending is this way. Swing in with the Avant Wolf and Pakapakachu for game. Possibly the best way we could have ended it. Let's move on to the next round and see if we can maybe finally start our first chance at a rank up. we have to win the next game. So let's see how it goes. It's nice to be able to win a game in style. The Pokemon Pikachu rarely comes up like that. Bum, 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 bum. Alright, so the opponent is up first. We have a reasonable defensive board. And I guess even something like Dark Magician Girl would let us make an offensive play. Though 2 Clear Ice Dragon lowers those odds. I mean, 2 barriers, huh? I could bring in the Avant Wolf, but no, I don't think it's the right move. All we can do here is pass. Alright, so a Fire Guardian is not the most common card to be running in the deck, but a full field of level 6 monsters is difficult for us to get over, especially when backed by a mysterious card. Well, let's use Ultimate Bond here. Unfortunately, they don't have a level 7, so it's not going to be optimal. But we can Light Sorcerer. And with the effect, lower this thing. Bring in you. 1, 2. And then the Silver Wolves are essentially just going to be here to play Barrier Insurance. Silver Wolf lower, actually, maybe I leave the Fire Guardian up, because that one can't get boosted. So, double Silver Wolf, lower this one below 1300. Battle phase, and if they want a barrier on this, that's fine with me. Oh, well, if they don't actually have anything, maybe we can actually get a full board clear. Check for Recital. I will definitely take this. I think this is a relatively solid board. Keep in mind that the Tough Striker is immune to the Ancient Wise Dragon's effect. However, a Sword and Shield could be an issue, but it's actually a Recovery Force, so we're fighting against a Spellcaster-themed Ancient Forces deck. I don't think I've actually seen anything like this before. With an extra card from Recovery Force, they might just be able to out things. Let's see what they go for. Dragius. But that's not enough. They're going to need a way to get over the Tough Striker. But with an extra card, maybe the second boss monster is going to be what they're looking for. It is not. They don't even use the effect. They have no plans of crashing in. Fair enough. We see another barrier, and we do actually have the Dark Magician set up. So I have the choice between Dark Magician Girl and Dark Sword Magician. I think the answer is a very clear Dark Magician Girl. We will, swing here. Swing here. And do I crash with the Dragius? Honestly, I'm not even sure it's worth it. But it's probably better too. My main issue with this play is that Ancient Arise Dragon is able to clear Tough Striker since the barrier isn't actually going to do anything. Drawing a ton of back row. Very interesting. I'm absolutely expecting to get hit by a Widespread Ruin, but even with that being the case, I could potentially push in for some damage. That seems like a plan to me. Turn on the Windweaver and activate the effect. Get rid of this curtain. Let's flip you. Sure. Though, we do now have the chance of a silly little Widespread Ruin plus barrier. Oh, wait. Okay, no, that's fine. Avoid a potential Dory auto in this slot by swinging in with Torn of the Windweaver. But it was only a Twin Edge Dragon. Barrier. And they are bringing back probably Dragius, as expected. It is worth noting we do only have 9 cards left in the deck, so we might need to start popping these barriers, just for the extra resources. Shield and Sword coming down, allowing for a huge push. Mystic Dealer coming in, and they are actually filtering, which means that they don't have the optimal ratio just yet. Possibly too many low-level monsters. Another Doriado, okay. And La Moon. Do they have a level 7? Or are they just pushing in with these? Dragius is gonna be an issue. A very painful one. Using a barrier here does save me 800 life points, so I like the idea. And I'm gonna shuffle back in a card that can actually help me in Aim Eagle. Don't need to use the other one. We should be surviving here. Oh, and this is actually pretty useful. If I use the barrier, I'm able to keep my Torna alive, which does technically turn off the Dark Sword Magician, but is 100% worth it. Let's put back in Light Sorcerer, a way we can potentially debuff Dragius. And it's also a light monster for Acebreaker. We drop Pack Pokechus and Rhino. Okay. Have we seen Widespread Ruin? We have not. Very interesting. Summon, 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 summon. Let's activate the skill. Show them this. Put back Rhino. Grab Eagle. And then 1, 2, special summon. And then, I mean, I think we just go in for game. Or do we just summon the Torna? Like, rotate? No, if we have a chance for lethal, I think we go for it. battle, and here we go. It's a Phantom Bind. But it is not enough. We managed to get in, and that should be a 2-game win streak. Are we gonna be able to make it? I sure hope so. All we need is one more shot. This is our very first rank up game of the day. It has been an hour and 20 minutes. We're hoping to win the die roll, draw some good cards, the opponent bricks or disconnects. We will take anything we can get to rank up. After a full hour of losing, we could really go for some good luck here. We open with Dark Magician and a Barrier. However, our opponent is going first. And if they are a Magician Shuffle deck, our Dark Magician could come back to bite us hard. Let's see how it goes. Setting some monsters, as expected, of a turn 1 play. But the Dragias in attack mode is very interesting. If all we need is a debuff to potentially clear it, or the Shield and Sword. However, with a Barrier by our side, if they don't have the Widespread Ruin, we can beat up Thunder the Thunder, and then win the standoff with Dragias on our own terms. So let's try to swing in. They do have a trap card. Hopefully it is only a Barrier and not the Widespread Ruin. A turn 1 Widespread Ruin on the rank up game would be pretty devastating. Okay, so we are in for 1200, and we know it is a trap card. The face down card is almost certainly a Barrier. Otherwise it wouldn't have been activatable in that option. Hammer Crush Deal, a little bit concerning, of course. Gives them a 50-50 on destroying our face down. We see them having connection issues as they come in to check the stream and figure out which card to destroy. But hopefully they don't get back into the game in time to use it. And we get there with a connection failure. And with that, we have managed to hit gold 4. Obviously, I don't think that was actually what was going on. We just got very lucky, or they chose to concede to let us rank up. Either way, I do appreciate it. Thank you, Elastor's internet connection. We take those. So, we have a little bit more time, so let's see if we can somehow manage to make it all the way to gold 5. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so we get the Tough Striker, and they're going for a triple Mystic Dealer opening. If they don't Tribute Summon, we have a chance for a huge early game lead. But of course, they are bringing in a Dark Sword Magician. But that said, our Silver Wolf is going to let us beat it up. If we even need to. Because if we think about it, we could Ultimate Bond here and get in for 1,000 damage. We'd probably want to get rid of the Torna. Okay, Ultimate Bond. Reveal Tough Striker. Return Torna to the deck. Get us another low-level monster, Ameagle. And Pikachu. Aim Eagle's effect. Swing in with a 3500 Tough Striker for 1200 damage and potentially even clear out these face-down monsters. However, there is a pretty good chance at least one of them is going to be something like a Doriado. But if we're able to get any damage, or if we're able to clear at least one of them, we should be in an okay spot. Swing in. It's a Doriado. But the second one shouldn't be. Fire Golem. Perfect. But yeah, they actually went through a ton of cards on their first turn. And we still don't actually even know if they're on Magician's Shuffle or Seven's Axel Road, which affects how easy it is going to be for them to clear out the Tough Striker. Or, well, with Shield and Sword, it's now super easy. Here comes Magic Juggler, sure, and Seven's Own Magician, so probably Seven's Axel Road. 3600, okay. We keep the Silver Fang, which is fine, I guess. And we draw a bunch of really awkward monsters. We might use the Torna here, just to be able to play around some cards as we swing into the Seven Sword Magician. I think that's a reasonable starting point. Torna the Windweaver, bring you out, and we're gonna ditch the Rhino. Switch this one to defense mode. Then Light Sorcerer, debuff the Dark Sorcerer just in case we get the chance to do it. And then obviously we need to bring in Dark Sword Magician as well. Battle phase, and we are going to give them the option to use a Crown of Sparks or something here, but they don't. So as long as this isn't Recital, we swing in for 1300 and have a relatively strong board. Restart the music as it's only about an hour and a half long track, and we see them setting some monsters. But will they Tribute Summon? It looks like they may not, but they do get 2 new back row. So the odds of a Torna the Windweaver creep higher and higher. That said, we can discard our Dark Magician to flip over a monster, and then we can summon a Dark Magician girl at 2500, thanks to the power of Torna the Windweaver. And now we have 2500s backed by barriers, looking like a relatively strong board. Of course, they do have a trap card. Widespread Ruin. Will they destroy Dark Magician Girl or Dark Sword? Interesting. And the other 2 cards should be spells. Unfortunately, that means they might be Magical Streams or Recovery Forces capable of boosting their resources to the point where I'm unable to win the game. Magical Stream, and Hammer Crush. Able to cleanly destroy both back row alongside the huge push from this Ah, man. Well, we did manage to get the rank up, so losing here is better than in a lot of other places. Would much prefer it to be this game than the last one. Okay. Next opponent, our first Gakuto of the night. Let's go ahead and... what do we even keep? I guess probably the, Silver Wolf is the best option. Set the rest of them. And pass. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, and with the Bonded Bowing, they are able to put the Yamirobo in attack mode. Not that I'm sure that's even the right move. They don't even bother to attack, so we will simply hold onto our resources and pass. And at this time, I think we're probably going to switch over to just streaming on the YouTube. We see another Bonded Bowing. And let's see what happens. Kime Ruler is going to let us take 1 billion damage. However, this is another turn of them not actually really doing anything. Unfortunately, we didn't draw any boss monsters, so we still don't really have an out to this. All we can do is set a card and pass one more time. We go ahead and bring out another monster and are going to be dealing another 2,500. Whee! Ow. And ow. Sound the nice, and try one more time. Yummy Ruler. Pretty tough to beat if you don't draw any level 7 monsters. Turns out. But we can't win them all, so no need to get caught up with it. Okay, so Dark Magician, I mean, it gives us something to do. And we can even debuff if they summon a 25 themselves using the Silver Wolf. But much more likely that they are going to set some cards and pass. So we toss down Dark Magician. Do we even summon the Silver Wolf? I guess clearing a resource is actually fairly useful. Alright, so Thunder the Thunder is down, and so is Pog Pikachu. Though it wasn't live, so would have preferred them to have it on board. Hammer Crush immediately taking us down, and the Hammer Crush deal even gets to replace the card. However, Twin-Edged Dragon is a pretty rare sight in these Hammer Crush deal decks. So, what is their plan with an attack position Twin-Edged Dragon? They have to be getting ready to tribute it off. It's the only thing that really makes sense. Even something like a Dragius wouldn't be able to come down, clear my board. Actually, I guess it would. But Umegumi. This is almost definitely somebody who ran through the first box one time and built an aggro deck out of this. Interesting. Avant Wolf, All-Seeing White Tiger. Toss this down. And do we want the Dark Magician Girl or the Dark Sword? I think the answer is very clearly Dark Magician Girl, to keep an extra spot on the field, and to leave a monster with a special summon effect a round for later. 1500 defense, shouldn't be possible. So we swing in and we get another 2000. We are in a pretty good position. I think my opponent's deck is at the rough same level of budget as ours, where we're gonna be able to effectively play the game. Bum 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 bum. Okay, Shield and Sword, but I still have several powerful monsters on board. With a barrier, Dark Magician is even able to trade with this Dark Sword Magician. So let's see how it goes. I think we are in a good spot. And they actually go in for the Dark Magician Girl specifically to avoid this fate. Pretty clever, and I will allow it. No need to use our barrier just yet. Our move, and we drop some debuffers. Pretty interesting. Silverfang and Silverwolf will make good tributes for our Darksword Magician. Let's bring Darksword Magician down to size, then go 1 and 2. And we have an option for getting it even lower, which makes sense because we want to play around barrier. Light Sorcerer, debuff this. Battle phase, try to swing in, and let's see it. Solid. And can we clear the defense mode? No. Ow. That's actually pretty dangerous. A 7-zone Magician coming in on Light Sorcerer is representing 2,700 damage. So we could actually lose the game this turn if it doesn't go well. Speedy Performer is another big threat here. As I said, the major issue is buffing a monster high enough where I just die from the Light Sorcerer of Sanity taking a hit. Let's see what happens. And here it is, the 7-zone Magician I was worried about. 3,300. Luckily, it's not a max power one. And they do have another set card as well, which is another issue in its own right. 800 damage puts me at 1,800. And then here we go. Another potential 800 damage. Is there anything I want to get back into the deck? Not really. So I think I let this happen. And then remember, I also need to attack Magician's Valkyria before I can even get to the 7-zone Magician, which is another potential issue. They do have a level 7 monster on board though. So let's bring in Aim Eagle and a Light Monster. Activate the effect of Aim Eagle and we get ourselves a nice 3,500 attack point monster. However, at this point, I think the other monster needs to go into defense mode. For my safety. Battle phase. Here's a potential victory push. This is 1,900 damage represented on board. They are switching the attack and defense, but that's not good enough. As I keep the 1,000 buff. And then we try to beat the 7-zone Magician, and we do. However, we are now faced with the burden of knowing they have Shield and Sword in hand and are able to reduce Tough Striker to 1,600 attack. With only 1,000, another 7-zone Magician could end this. Let alone some other types of monsters. Another face-down card. And it very well could be a Widespread Ruin, but it could also be the dead Shield and Sword. We do need to keep that in mind. And Torn of the Windweaver is actually another issue. Perhaps I should have put down the Avant Wolf instead of this Mystic Dealer. Oh, this is actually a huge problem. Torn of the Windweaver plus Shield and Sword, reducing my attack all the way down to 0. Is a potential lethal push here. And piercing is just as good. Disaster has struck at the final moment. our barrier is not good enough. We were so close. I will go ahead and send them a nice for that amazing comeback with just 500 life points remaining. Maybe not setting at all would have been a better play. Let's head on to the next game. Oh, good morning, Rafflesia. Sorry for the late response. Oh, and Redfire as well. Completely did not notice. Yes, Rafflesia, this is the Free to Play Structure Deck Challenge going on some more. We did make it all the way up to Gold 4 from Gold 3, so it's not that much. But basically, we've lost way more than we won, but we have been able to string the few games we did win in close succession, allowing us to rank up despite the terrible version of, or the terrible total win rate has been circumvented by grouping the wins together. Okay, so, I mean, this is not a great hand. We could bring down the Rhino and inflict piercing. But I think I'd rather have the Dark Sword Magician on board rather than aim for the little bit of extra damage. And we know there are actually a tribute set monster somewhere, but I was not looking at my screen, so I don't know where it is. Luckily, we managed to hit it. And we are playing against a Volt Condor deck. Oh, welcome. Tenrinju. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Oh, and hello to hi, how are you? We are a little bit under 2 hours. We're probably gonna stream for another 30 to 45 minutes before I head out. Hopefully we can pick up a couple more. Should I get Reincarnation, Summon or Barrel Dragon? It probably depends on what deck you're playing. If you're on the Ultimate Bond deck with Acebreaker and these guys, you definitely need Barrel Dragon. If you're playing aggro, it's a toss-up, but Barrel Dragon is probably better than Summon Skull. And then Reincarnation is good in decks that have a restriction preventing you from running the other cards. So if you're playing Spellcasters, for example, you aren't going to be able to use Summon Skull or Barrel Dragon, but the Monster Reincarnation could help. That being said, you do already have Shield and Sword, which is equally good in a ton of cases. So I'd say Barrel Dragon is probably the best of the three, but Summon Skull has some uses in decks where Barrel Dragon is not allowed, and Reincarnation is able to be used in decks where neither of those are allowed. Right, so they get the Volt Condor out, and unfortunately, a lot of my monsters are light attribute, so these debuffs are something to actually worry about. Draw for turn, and that is looking rough. Fortunately, we do have Ultimate Bond here, and we can return, Barrier, I guess. They don't have a light monster, so we're not going to be able to actually cleanly out this. But what we can do is use the Tornado to guarantee we don't lose to a barrier. We're gonna switch the Volt Condor to defense mode, and then summon the Acebreaker on top of it. Though, maybe we actually do need to high roll if they don't have a trap card, that way we can protect Acebreaker. However, barrier isn't going to do anything in this matchup for us, as Volt Condor debuffs, and okay, yeah, that's game. We're gonna go ahead and give him the good old surrender. And we will try again. Bum, bum, ba, 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 bum. Okay, so we draw the Dark Sword and Magician. So if they bring out a turn 1 boss monster, Shield and Sword and Dark Sword should be able to clear it. And then if they set 3, we can always just tribute summon it normally. Dark Magician Girl. Not doing much, but probably better than summoning the Dark Sword Magician, since it means we get to have 2 monsters on board for a little bit of extra protection. Let's go ahead here and set the Shield and Sword and battle. Looks like we probably are against a Resonance deck, so Shield and Sword has a really good chance of getting blown up by a Slayer. Remember that you can always choose to keep the Shield and Sword in hand if you think a Slayer is going to be coming out, as it prevents them from destroying the card, and you get to cleanly destroy the Slayer by reducing it all the way down to 0. Since it was turn 1, I didn't really know if they were on aggro or resonance, so I opted to set the card this time. Unfortunately, it does not work out for us, as Slayer comes in and is ready to mess us up. I add a Twin Edge. Huh. Ow. I mean, we do have the Dark Sword Magician, so we're not out of the game just yet. But you can see where having the Shield and Sword would have been very useful. I think I do want to debuff the Dragonite and take it out. But maybe just clearing the Twin Edge Drago and setting would have been a better play. Oh well. Bunker Strike coming in for the 2800, plus filtering. So presumably they are on some kind of pressure variant here, since we see a pitcher and a Bunker Strike. multiple face down cards is kind of an issue. But we do actually have a Curtain of Sparks. With a Dark Magician Girl to back it up. They are ready for battle, and they start by testing the waters with Dragorite. Obviously, we do have to let that one go through. And they choose to end turn, which is a good plan. We draw, and unfortunately, we have already used our... oh, the music is high. I turned it down a little bit. And then, I don't know, the Harpies, if we only get one copy of them, aren't going to be, like, that crazy, because it'll be really difficult to actually draw all three of them. Okay. So what I can do here is bring in the Acebreaker, and pop the Bunker Strike. And that'll let me play around some of their trap cards. Which seems like the right play. Have to 2,500, so even if they have a Widespread Room in here, we are going to be able to clear the Dragorite. Barrier, kind of what we were expecting. Probably going to put back a... Oh. So they were using the barrier to shuffle their cards after using the Bunker Strike. They put stuff back to the top of the deck, but they must not have liked what they were about to draw. A very interesting play. Oh, and here comes Dragonic Pressure to end the game. It doesn't take a whole lot. Notably, they do have both Sports Dragons set up, so any level 7 monster is going to be enough, even through my, even through my Curtain of Sparks, the 500 debuff is not going to be enough. And that is game. Oh, so you're going to try to get King of Games with the maximums. That is not a lot of time to do so. It is a leap year, so we should have an extra day in the ranked season, I think. Wait, no, it's coming the final day of February. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But you'll definitely be cutting it close there. Okay, so we are up first, and we're fighting PDR again. They're the ones with the kind of interesting budget deck. They did manage to beat us earlier, but let's not count ourselves out yet. We're definitely keeping the Pock Pikachu as we have the cards we need to enable it already on board. Alright, Umegumi is fine. Imogen's Valkyria is also pretty whatever. Amigal not doing anything for us, unfortunately. So let's just throw down some face downs and think. If we use the shield and sword, we actually have to get through Magician's Valkyria before we can get to the Dark Sorcerer. So it's not going to help us. However, with a 600 debuff from Light Sorcerer of Sanctity, we could actually clear it. But then we don't have another good follow-up, so in the end, I think we just set 3. And wait it out one more turn. Unfortunately, we're probably not super likely to see all these 0 defense monsters stick around, and Magical Stream is coming in to destroy my face down. Corona Sparks, I'm kind of fine with. I'd rather have that one go away than the shield and sword. As this represents a potential ton of damage. Gravity Fest Dragon, reducing the ceiling of my shield and sword by 1,000 points. But that is fine. Let's see what we draw. Again, huh? Our deck is hiding all of our boss monsters from us. So expect to see the magical 4 level 7 hand in a moment. Bum, ba, 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 bum, bum, ba, 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 bum. Hammer Crush Deal, unfortunately coming in to take out another back row. Here we go. And they destroy barrier once again. Okay. And as expected, here are all of the high-level monsters being drawn at once. Setting this one. But aren't we just gonna run into Widespread Ruin? Pakachu, activate the effect. Let's put another Paku back in. Grab the tiger. Summon the tiger. Let's get rid of the rhino. And then now's the question on whether or not we are actually going to use the shield and sword. But the answer is no. I think I do want to keep the Torna around. For a potential play next turn. And then the odds of Widespread Ruin are fairly high here. So I kind of am... Oh, but the Gravity Fest Dragon is just kind of too threatening to leave around. 700 attack, debuff. Would be 1800, we'd technically actually still be fine. Huh. We are going to end. 1800 is technically good enough to beat anything on the board. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, here comes the Gravity Fest Dragon for sure. I guess the issue is if they play down something like Dragias here, it's a lot more painful. Than even if it just got blown up by a Widespread Ruin. But they're going to defense mode. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's really clever. Wow. Okay. Very well. Huh. Yeah. Okay. I like this. They're making a really nice push. Mystic Dealer to draw into something else. But they are setting a card. Now I could put back the Aim Eagle here. That seems like a good plan. Because I have two bosses that are able to use it. I would kind of like to have the Aim Eagle around to search out next turn. Let's see what we draw. Okay. This is a decent start. However, we unfortunately don't actually have an out here. Or we don't have the 2500 available. Mystic Dealer. We're gonna ditch the Torna. Pakachu is good enough for me. Let's bring in the Tough Striker here and try to get over some of these monsters. Obviously, I do think it's very likely we're running into some trap cards, but it's some progress, which is better than nothing. Now we know from earlier they are running a 7-zone Magician, and we know from the Beast Summoner that there's probably a Volt Condor as well. So this is definitely far from a victory. But we do technically have the resources to block what's currently on the board. Speedy Performer, going to provide that big buff, which means now we probably are not able to survive what is on the board. Yeah, all they needed was any monster really capable of clearing 2,000 damage. The only way we don't die is if they, for some reason, decide to swing Dragius in. But that is not enough. We can try it one more time. I think after the next loss, we are probably going to be running out of time for the day. But that's okay. We managed to reach Gold 4, which is really the big goal here. If we can get up to Gold 4 today, get to Gold 5 on the next stream, we have most of the month remaining to make the King of Games push. 5 games in a row sounds very, very difficult. But I won't give up just yet. Icebreaker turn 1 with a barrier sounds like a plan to me. As we've said before, high rolling is really our best method of trying to win here. We could keep the eagle around in our hand, but setting it is just as well. The goal is to make them set 3 and pass, and then draw a full 5 cards. Because they simply will not draw a way to deal with Icebreaker. Light Sword Sorcerer. Okay, I think they might have an out here. That is 2,600, which is okay. It's still not quite high enough to clear unless they have another splat. But it is nice and prismatic, so that's always cool. We definitely let them get in with this one, and perhaps the barrier will be enough to stop them. It is not, as this is definitely the right play on their part. Let's go ahead and put Amiable back so we can use it with Tough Striker later in the duel. I draw for turn, but we don't find anything worth doing. Unfortunately, that means we are setting 3 and passing. Let's see what Dariel has in store. Bum, 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 bum. Magical Stream, popping one of my cards. Fair enough. Here comes Recovery Force. Torn of the Windweaver is going to be causing some damage here. I have a barrier, but obviously barrier is not going to be strong enough. We also see them search out a 7-zone Magician. But they're actually getting rid of a prismatic 7-zone Magician just to flip over this Pikachu. Seems questionable. I will take the damage and see if we can find something better on the next turn. Technically, I could have put the Acebreaker back in the deck with my barrier, but I think this is fine. Let's start with Pikachu. It is alive, which is always a good start. Putting the Paku back in the deck for reuse later. Grab ourselves a nice little boss monster. Then, do we Shield and Sword here? I don't think so. But I do want more back row, so we're gonna throw these down. And then Mystic Dealer can go away, since it is not strong enough to actually do anything. We get our little Aim Eagle. Summon it out. We don't get a 3,500. But that is okay. Bring in you, bring in the Tiger. And we can battle. Let's see if we can actually take out this Torna, or if the Widespread Ruin is here to ruin our day. It is only a barrier, which is fine. 7-zone Magician back in the deck, but they've already wasted their search. And we bring them down to just a Dark Sorcerer on board. We have 2 trap cards and a Shield and Sword to try to push things around in the future. Dark Sorcerer is a 0 defense monster, so if it stays on the field, we have a potential good hit. Light Sorcerer Sanctity coming down, but just like last time, if it's just a 24 or 2,600, we are fine. Unfortunately, 7-Sword Witch is a bigger issue. However, they do misplay a little bit here and use the effect before activating the skill, so they are no longer able to buff 7-Sword Witch with 7's Axel Road. 3,600 though, of course, very powerful. And more than enough to deal with Tough Striker. The question is whether or not we want to send some monsters back into the deck or not. I'm kind of fine keeping what we have. If I was going to, I would have chosen Acebreaker and the Aim Eagle. We draw for turn, and all we get is a Torna. Definitely we shield and sword here. And then I think we're just hoping that they run out of stuff. We need to lower this so Torna can clear it. And then we need to lower this one so the Avant Wolf can clear it. Summon here. Then we summon here. And we do our best to clear the board. And we basically just need them to draw no tribute monsters for a couple of turns, and Torna the Maneuver would be able to switch them all over. We have a barrier, so a single 2400 is not quite enough. That's 1100, going down to just 700 damage. However, another 7-zone Magician definitely would end it. 2 of them are in the graveyard, however. And Shield and Sword, we are down to just 200 attack. Now it is probably over. That alone is 1000 damage. Magical Stream coming in. Literally any monster, a tribute monster, or another attack mode monster is going to be enough to end this. But all they have is a Fire Golem. We can activate Barrier. We will be putting back the Ace Breaker. We managed to just barely hang on, and they only have a single monster on board. This could be our chance. Silver Wolf. Wait, Ace Breaker, right? 1, 2. But what if that is the Widespread Ruin? How do we best play around it? But what if it's not the Widespread Ruin? What if it is just another Magical Stream? Or a Barrier? This is 3,000, 4,000, 4,800. We need to push. We need to just go for it and risk it being a non-widespread card. We swing. It is a trap, and it is widespread. So we had the option to play around the widespread by bringing out 2 2500s, and then we would be forcing them to play down the 7-zone Magician to win. Unfortunately, it was the widespread rather than another barrier. And now all they need to do is start swinging in. I know they have a 2 tribute monster in hand, or at least a 1 tribute one. Good luck with the aggro Syncleric. And then Redfire, congrats on winning with your Gaia. Alright, so we are done with this game. It is... I guess we have time for one more attempt. Syncleric, you say that, but they are. We are not running a Widespread Ruin in our deck as part of the challenge, which means everyone is doing a better job building their deck than we have. Unfortunately. Alright, next up, a gold 5 player. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Alright, we are up first and start with a good amount of trap cards. If we get another low-level monster, we'll be able to play everything out. We draw a 3rd trap instead, which is not great. So we're gonna take some damage here, but that's okay. Bum. And Barrel Dragon coming down. Are they going to be able to destroy my monster here? They whiff. And we know that the face down card here is Hammer Crush. So if they choose to use it, we actually won't take any damage this turn. But they set a monster. It's probably a Pikachu face down. They don't even go into battle, which is definitely a huge mistake on their part. How do we want to play around this though? We could use the Light Sorcerer to debuff the Barrel Dragon, but we would still lose to a barrier. So what instead I'm going to do is use this to debuff the Gazelle, actually. Then, we are going to Torna to flip over what I think is a Pikachu. Let's activate the effect and get rid of the dealer here. Wait, no. I need to switch the Barrel Dragon to defense mode. Right, almost forgot. This is gonna let the Dark Magician attempt to get over it, and then force them to use a trap card without destroying my monster. Bring in Avant Wolf and Battle Phase. Swing in. And it looks like it might not actually be a trap at all. Which is fantastic news. Oh right, it's the Hammer Crush. We already knew this was a Hammer Crush. So I could have played that a little bit differently, but it works out just about the same. We managed to clear out Barrel Dragon nice and early. However, they could use Legend Draw after a barrier later in the duel to get it back. However, they have conceded early. This makes me think they didn't have anything and knew the Torna on the board was going to be able to start inflicting some big damage. So, we win one. Can we win a second duel or not? We are up second. We open with Dark Magician and Protection. But going second, it's not as impressive. They have 2 back row, so Widespread Ruin is kind of an issue. Gazelle in attack mode, pretty interesting choice. Rhino is a pretty terrible draw. We could actually choose to Mystic Dealer away the Dark Magician here. In an attempt to get more low-level monsters out. But I think we are just gonna play aggressively. If they have the Widespread Ruin, they have it. But it's also pretty likely they have cards like Hammer Crush. Alright, they have a trap card, and it is Widespread Ruin. So that's probably just game. And with that, this will probably be the final game for today, because I do have plans in a little bit. But we managed to make gold 4, so progress is progress. let's draw for turn. And I mean, I guess technically we can still be trying it. We only have 500 life points, but that's okay. Let's put in this Torna, grab ourselves an Aim Eagle. 1 and 2. Aim Eagle's a fact. We know the widespread is gone. So if there are other boss monsters or all things like Dragius, we actually do have a shot. I think we need to keep the magic juggler around in our hand. Well, it's unlikely they're running Pierce, so we could go ahead and set it. But I'm just gonna leave things like this. We see another trap card, but it's only gonna be something like a barrier, so we're okay to attack. We have our own trap cards here. So the goal is simple. They have the Silver Wolf, they debuff us to 2300, and then they try to win with Dragius, but we use the barrier and we win. Silver Wolf brings us down. Now as long as they don't have another attack modifier, it's okay. Monster Reincarnation, though, is gonna end the game. Our winning strategy was, unfortunately, that they didn't have an attack boosting boss monster. But not much we can do against this. I guess setting the Magic Juggler may have actually helped us here, as if they're not able to summon their final card, we would have technically survived the turn, because Barrier brings it down to 2600 and we have 200 life left. We can put the Aim Eagle back in. And then, see, the Magic Juggler would have been getting hit by the Gazelle. But that is going to be it for today. I'll send them over a nice, and I will see you all next time.